Muted.
Hello everyone, my name's Dave. I'm with Litmos Healthcare and I'll be running the Proctor training today. Just so you guys are all aware, I have muted the line. What I like to do is run through the whole training and then I'll take any questions you have at the end. Where we're starting right now, and you should be able to see on your screen, is the Litmos Healthcare main website. I just like to start here because I've had a few people ask me where the login is for this particular site, and it's actually up in the upper right corner right here. But what I also like to point out is that the easier way to go is to just type learn.bridgefront.com directly in your address bar, and you're going to come straight to this screen. You can bookmark it, make it a little easier. I'm going to go ahead and get logged in, and then we'll get going. Okay, so this is my Test Proctor account. What I'm going to be doing today is running you through the tabs at the top. When I get to the end, I'm going to switch over to the student side so you can see what it looks like on their end. That way, if they do have any questions for you, hopefully you'll be able to answer them. Before I really get going, I'd like to point out that in the upper right corner, there is a link here called Proctor Manual. This is going to contain all the information I'm covering today, as well as a little bit extra, because it also contains course editing and course building, which I cover on Wednesdays. So if you are going to need course editing and building training, if you log in tomorrow at the same time with the same credentials, you'll be able to go through that training. For now, though, we are in the Home tab. By default, when you log into the Proctor account, you will always come into the Home tab. Now, the Home tab doesn't have a ton of things going on for it here on the Proctor side. Mainly here, I just point out that there is a student status that shows you how many active assignments are out in your organization right now, how many of those are complete, and how many of those are not complete. This is obviously just a little snapshot, doesn't give any detail, just kind of a quick idea of what's going on when you first log in. When we get over to the Reports tab, then we'll be getting into a lot more detail. But before we get there, we're going to go to the My Users tab. The My Users tab is where all of your account information is stored. You can see this down below. On the far right, you'll see the status column is all active, and that is because by default the system will start by only showing you your active accounts. You can see my filtered is down from 297 being my total, 234 being what's shown. If you want to be able to see your inactive accounts, you can go over to the status column and change the active drop-down to either all or inactive. Now, if you need to deactivate an account, you can do so by coming in here, clicking on the word active. It'll ask if you want to change status. If I were, they would get moved off of this list and moved into the inactive list and no longer able to access the system. On the flip side of that, if you have someone that needs to be reactivated, you can go to the status, change it over, and the same deal. Click on the word inactive here, change status, and you'll have an active account for them to be able to log in. Now, the reason for this is because every organization has a maximum number of users they're allowed to have. If you're not sure what that is, you can always contact your sales rep, and they'll be able to share that information. But the system doesn't actually count all of your accounts towards your maximum user total. It only counts active. So the 297 is my total. The 234, though, is what's going to go towards my total user amount. So as long as you stay on top of deactivating accounts, you'll always be able to add another user. To add another user is actually pretty simple. Up in the upper left here, you click on the word New. It's going to pop up with this window in 4 tabs. The first tab is the only one with required information, and that's that first name, last name, username, and the status, which will default to active. The rest are entirely up to you guys. User details are going to be contact information for this particular person. Job profile, where you can put in things like a job supervisor if you like. And then user hierarchy. If you're not familiar with user hierarchy, this basically allows you to have different selections available that have you group your users with those selections so that you can use it later for like making assignments or running reports. For example, you can see here I have organization. The organization is always the first level of the hierarchy. There's actually a total of 8 levels. Most people will use the first or second level to group users. By the way, if your organization has less than 100 people, you're really not going to need this. But for those that have several hundred, or especially those that have thousands, this is a good way to go. Underneath the organization here, I have mine listed as department. You can have it listed as maybe location or something of that nature. And once you select the first one, it's going to give you a second one if you guys have asked for it, and you can just keep on going down and make the selections. To get this added into your hierarchy or into your account, you would need to send an email to clientcare@bridgefront.com. Tell us what you would like your content to be and what you want your hierarchy called, and then we'll go ahead and make those for you. All right, next to the new button is an edit button, so I'm going to bring up my own accounts. Click to highlight and then edit. You're going to get the same screen, same information. Obviously with edit you can go ahead and make changes in here, but the reason I bring this up is because of the username. The username is in bold, and that's because that is the only piece of information on the user's account that the Proctor cannot change after creating the account. If a username is incorrect for whatever reason, you just send that into clientcare@litmos.com and we'll make that change for you. Next to the edit button are the send email and send message buttons, and I'm actually going to be covering messaging under the customize tab, so I'll come back to those later. Beyond that, we have send login info and reset user password. So both of these have a similar function in that they reset passwords, but they do so in slightly different ways. With send login info, it's going to send an email to whoever's highlighted, in this case myself, based on the email address in their account, and it's going to tell them their username and assign them a temporary password. They take those two pieces of information, they log in, the screen, or the system rather, then prompts them to change their password, and once they do, they get logged in. Now, on the other hand, if you were to use reset user password, it will also send an email, also based on whatever name is in the account highlighted, but instead of giving them a username and password, it's going to say your Proctor that you change your password by clicking the link below and provide them with a link. When they click on that link, they're going to go directly to the change password screen so they can set up a new one and get logged in. If they choose not to use the link, then they'll just keep whatever their old password was. Now, there's no real advantage or disadvantage to either one of these, but my personal preference is send login info, and that's for two reasons. One, it includes the username. Not unusual that if somebody forgot their password, they may not remember what their username is. Two, if they do not receive the email for any reason, yourself can go and actually tell them, hey, your username is whatever, and your temporary password is going to be this. Temporary passwords are something we're going to cover a little later, so it'll make more sense. But you can literally just tell them those two pieces of information, they can log in, they're good to go. Now, on the other hand, if you use password and they don't get an email, then they're not going to have that link, and if they don't have the link, then they're not going to be able to use it. And at that point, they would need to have another reset or for you to do the send login info. All right, and again, that's just my personal preference. Of course, you guys can use whatever you like. To the right of that is view transcripts. This is a nice little reporting feature, especially if you're just needing to look up something on a single person really quick. I like to come in here, highlight, click on view transcript. This is going to tell you at the top the date that they were added into the system, how many, or the last time they logged in, how many times they logged in, how many assignments they have, and then of course you see below all those assignments are listed, along with the dates they were assigned, completed, if they were completed, a status for them, which will either say the letter C, meaning they've completed, the letter I, meaning they've started but not finished, or the NS, meaning they never started. Also in here, we have an Out to Excel button, so if you like things in a spreadsheet format, this is a good way to go. But like I said, this is really good for one-on-one. If you're wanting to look up multiple people or to get even more detail than what's available in here, then that's going to fall under the Reports tab we're going to get to. Beyond the view transcript are the PDF, Excel, and print buttons. The PDF and Excel buttons simply export your user list to those formats, and prints the whole thing up. And that brings us to Course Catalog. So Course Catalog is not going to contain just the courses that you purchase from us. This is more like a little advertising on our part. This contains every single course we have to offer you. So if you want, you can come in here. You can see the approximate CUs and minutes that they're worth. And then you can actually get into the course by clicking on Enter. You can see the course in its entirety. You can even go down and take the post-test if you wanted to, but just be aware that this is for demonstration purposes only. So if you complete or do anything within the course catalog, it's not actually recorded and it doesn't mean anything. All right, that takes us over to reports. So we do have a large number of reports, and I can't cover them all. What I do is I cover the main ones, and then if you guys have something that you need to be able to see or want to see and I don't cover it, just let me know at the end of the training and we'll cover that as well. That being said, we're going down to usage and completion, third one down. That's going to have 7 buttons. First one I like to start with is certificates here at the bottom. So what this does is it allows you to go in and look up the certificates for completed coursework that other people have done. So if you do need a copy or at least see the copy of the certificate, rather than having to chase down the individual users, you just come in here. This first screen that popped up is just a filter screen. So at the top you can search by particular person, in the middle by location. This is that hierarchy again if you have like departments or something of that nature. And then at the bottom you can search by particular assignment if you like. This list will only contain what you purchased from us and not everything, so you'll just see a limited list right here. Or if you're going to be like me and want to see everything for everyone, you can leave all these blank and click Create at the bottom. In the next screen, you're going to see the people's names down the left. If you see their name multiple times, that just means they've completed multiple assignments. The assignment they completed is down the center, and then on the right, when you click on View, it's going to bring up the certificate, and then from here you can save or print as needed. Back on the main screen, I'm still under usage and completion. I'm going to go to user assignment progress. User assignment progress is kind of the main big report that everyone uses to keep track of things because it does contain quite a bit of information. This is just another filter screen that popped up. It is more comprehensive than the last one, but it works essentially the same. At the top with user selections, again, you can search by a particular person, their supervisor, job title. Below that, we have organization selections. So this, again, goes back to the hierarchy if you use it. Assignment selections, I'll come back to in just a moment. And date selections, you can search a report by the assign date, due date, or a completion date. Under assignment selections at the top here, you have a search bar. You can type a full or partial name of a particular course, and the system will run the report based on that. However, what I find to be quite a bit easier is this little drop-down. Actually, it's not little. It's a very large drop-down. This will contain all of the courses that you purchased from us, so you can go through and select one or multiples. There's really no limit on this. At least I haven't found one yet. And that way you can just run the report based on that. But if you're, again, like me and want to see everything for everyone, and you can leave those off. Under that, we have a completion status. This is defaulted to all, but you can change this so that you can only see people that have completed the course, or more importantly, people who have not completed the course. And once you have everything set the way you like, you just go to the bottom and click on Run Report. I do apologize. On the webinars, the report always runs slow, but in real time, it runs much, much quicker. There we go. All right, down the left here, we have the names, usernames, and again, hierarchy. Down the center, the assignments they've gotten. On the right, we have the assigned dates. The average view, this is just how much of the course material they've gotten through. So if they've completed it, they've viewed 100%. Completion date, and then the status again. And again, that is going to be the letter C for complete, the letter I here for incomplete, meaning they started but not finished. And here we have NA. It means the same thing as NS. It means they never started the course in the first place. We also have a final column called details. It's pretty useful. It not only breaks down the individual parts of an assignment, because our assignments can sometimes have multiple parts to it, it also gives you some additional information that's not available on this particular screen. So click there, and you can see this particular course has 5 parts, so you can see the breakout of those 5 parts. From here, you can see the first date they accessed any one of those parts, the last date they accessed, and if you're one of those companies that likes to keep track of time, there is a duration count for the individual and a total duration for an overall count of the assignment. So even if they're not in separate parts for the particular assignment, let's say there was only one in here, it still is useful to be able to have that first and last access and duration if necessary. Also on this report, there is an output of Excel file button again. So again, if you like to do it in a spreadsheet format, this is the way to go. Also, when you push this out to an Excel spreadsheet, it's going to include all of this information and all the information I just showed you on the other screen, and actually a little bit more than both of those put together, because it just takes every bit of information it can and puts on that spreadsheet. So I really like to output those. Back on the main screen, you may have noticed, but I like to point it out anyway, there are descriptions of the various reports here on the right, so you can see what they do or don't do. But like I said, if there is anything you guys want to see in this training, let me know at the end and I'll come back. Or if in the future you guys suddenly go, oh man, I wish I could see or do whatever, it's probably already in here somewhere. It's just a matter of finding it, so you can just contact us, clientcare@limos.com, and we'll help you find that. Back at the top, we have analytics. To be honest, The vast majority of you will not be using this tab. Only a small percentage of our clientele does use it. But I like to cover it just in case, especially if there's anybody that thinks, oh, you know what, I wouldn't mind that. So in here we have the key performance indicator. The key performance indicator is not automatically active. It is something you would have to contact your sales rep about if you wanted to go ahead and start using it. Well, what it does is it allows you to track your performance improvement based on completion rates of your students. So what you would do is submit to us monthly reports on completion rates. We plug it into the system, and it builds this lovely graph for you, the bar graph as well as the line here, showing the progression of your students. The blue line is optional. This represents a particular goal if you have one. Organization utilization is just going to be some basic statistics. Once it decides to cooperate. Again, I apologize. Reports for some reason just load very slow on webinars. There we go. And here, it's just going to give you a very generic completion rate. You can see past 12 months, you have, well, I have 87.3% incomplete. Ooh, I am not doing well. 12.6 complete. So that just kind of gives you a snippet of what's going on in your organization. Assignable courses is going to be another pie graph. This just gives you an idea of how much of a particular section of our coursework that you own. There we go. So in the middle you have the various libraries. On the outer edge it tells you how much you own of those libraries in the dark, and the gray is going to show how much you don't. And then time to complete versus average exam score is going to be another graph. This is going to show you a whole bunch of different data points. Each data point represents a completed course. Well, I should say completed test for a course that your students have done. It's going to take all those data points and convert them into a line that shows the average test scores for your organization. And there it is. Boy, that took a really long time. So these little diamonds are the individual data points that I was just mentioning, and then this blue line is showing the average. All right, the next tab is Customize, and it is the exact opposite of the Analytics, where Analytics is going to be just a few of you. Customize is pretty much where the rest of you are going to live. This is where you can make assignments, build, edit courses, send out emails, all the fun stuff. So we're going to start at the bottom, which is Manage Assignments. And I'll launch that. Manage Assignments not only lets you make assignments, it also lets you make changes to your current assignments. So when this loads up, you're going to see 4 tabs at the top, and by default it will open always on the current assignments, and the current assignments are exactly what it sounds like. They're all the assignments that are currently in your organization right now. So you can see on the left the user that it's assigned to, what is assigned to them there in the assignment name. Then you have a start date, due date, and end date. So the start date was the day that it was given to them. The due date is when you want them to complete, and the end date is going to be 1 year from the start date, that expiration date. If you don't choose to use due dates, that's fine. The system will automatically make the end date their due date if nothing is chosen. So from this screen you can do a couple of different things. Let's say you actually do want a due date. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my own list here. And I'll just go at the top. So I currently have a due date of April 1st of next year for this particular assignment. Let's say, nope, I want it to be much sooner, so I could check mark the box, click under due date, and let's go with December 1st. Why not? Yeah, December 2nd, just to make it different. Click the apply, and you can see this due date is now 12/2/2016. You can change that due date as often as you like, as long as there are 2 parameters followed. First of all, it must stay between the start date and the end date. Second, it must not be a finished course, like completed or expired. You can do this with multiples if you have multiple that you need to do at the same time, but you do have only 1 due date at a time. So if you have like 4 courses and 2 are one and 2 are the other, then you'll have to do them individually. The other thing you can do in here is change whether or not a course is required or if it's optional. And here you can see the optional required assign button. So when I make an assignment that you see, you're going to have 2 buttons. One will say require assign. Required assign means that it is going to go into the student's account under their current assignments tab, where it will be tracked and reported, and they must take it. If it is an optional assignment, then it is going to go under their home tab, where it will be on a report, but it will show as an optional, and they don't need to take it at that point. It'll be under their home tab where they can actually see it, and then click on the enroll button and enroll in it. And this is something that I will show you guys when we get over to that side. To change whether something is an option or required assign is pretty straightforward. I have right here optional. So I can check mark that and say, oops, I did not mean to make that an option. It's supposed to be required. Hit the button, and you can see the status has changed to assigned. On the other side, if you have assigned something that you wanted to be an option, it's just the same deal. Check mark the box, hit the optional required, and it's going to go back to optional. You can only change the status if it says optional or assigned. Anything else in here is going to tell you it's just basically not going to do it because it means they've already started the assignment. Started, straightforward, means they already pressed the start button. Completed, they finished it. And if I have any, there's another one called partially complete. It means they've gotten most of the way through it but still not done. In any case, assigned is the only one that can be switched back to an optional assignment. Now that's just for managing anything that's already been assigned to students. These three, next three, are for actually making those assignments. So first up is select users. Not surprisingly, this is where you can go through and choose who you want to have the assignment on. So I'll go ahead and select myself. If you want to choose multiple people, that's fine. Let's say I have someone else in here. You'll see my name disappears. Does not matter. As long as it's check marked, the system will remember. So now I have both. In fact, I can even change to the tabs here, come back, and they're still selected. In this case, I don't want that one necessarily. You can also use your hierarchy here. So under the advanced search, we have many more filters. For example, we have fields, and you can see most of the fields are pretty straightforward. But these levels here, these are the hierarchy levels. So I know my level 2 is for my departments. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that. Operator is how the system is going to look for whatever it is I'm about to type. I'll say starts with. And I'll go with the RID, filter, and there we go. So now you can see I have 234 active records. Only active records will show in here that are filtered down to 77 based on the department that I've chosen. If everyone in the department is going to get that assignment, great. Do the select all, and now you've got everyone here. If it's just most, you can do a select all and uncheck some, or you can just not check anyone and just choose the ones you need if you have a very large amount. But again, in this case, I only want myself. There we go. So the next screen is select assignments. This is where you're going to choose what assignment they're going to be taking. In my case, I'll go with this one. And of course, you can choose multiple assignments if there's more than one to be made. And the final screen is a summary screen. So on the left here, you're going to see who you've chosen. On the right, you're going to see what you've chosen. And you have a couple of things you can do from here. First of all, the due date. So I told you the due date, if it's not chosen, will automatically be 1 year from today. So right now, the due date is 9/13/2017. If you do want to limit that, you can go up here, same thing, to the due date box, change it to something different. Apply, and now you can see that is the due date that they're going to receive. If you do have multiple assignments selected here, it will change the due date for every one. So if you have different assignments that need different due dates, you have a couple options. You can either go through the process a couple of times or however many times it takes and assign the courses individually, have them grouped by due date, or, and this is what I like to do, is assign all of them at once. Let's say you had 5 courses, 3 need one and 2 need the other. I would assign them all at the same time, go back to current assignments, and then just update the due dates as needed. From here, you also have that required assign, optional assign button that I was talking about earlier. And again, required assign means it goes to current assignments, and they must take it. Optional assign goes to home tab, and they can choose to take it, which is what we're going to go with this time. So I can show you what it looks like on the other end. You see the window did disappear. That means the assignment has been made, and now when I go into the user's account, it will be sitting there. Now, once you have assignments made, and especially if you have due dates set, you can start looking at using automatic email reminders. The automatic email reminders are not required. They're just simply an option that we present in case you guys want to use them. And here you have 6 options. The first 3 are for the students to be reminded. The second 3 are for proctors to be reminded of various things. And we'll just go through these one at a time. At the top, you have the student due date email alert. What this is going to do is send an email to your user telling them what the name of the course is, the date that it's due, and then give them an instruction set on how to get into the course and complete it. To activate, check mark the box on the left, so that turns it on. Then you're going to need the number of days before. The number of days before are based on the due date. So Let's say that you wanted them to get their first email 60 days before the due date comes due. You just put in the 60. Number of days in between is for follow-up emails. So right now I have mine set at 7. That means every 7 days, if they have not completed the course, they're going to get yet another email saying the same thing. This is your course. This is when it's due. Here's how you do it. On the right here, there is a drop-down. This drop-down contains the email that's going to be sent. There is only going to be one option when you initially get in here, and that's the default one, but that's the good one that I was just talking about because it does have some formulas in here. It's going to tell them their actual name. It's going to tell them their assignments, their due dates, and like I said, it does give them step-by-step instructions on how to get in and do those things. If you'd prefer to make your own email, you can go to Manage Email Templates. This gives you the 6 different options that are available. Click Add wherever it is you want your email to be. Fill in the appropriate information, save it, and then it's going to be available in the drop-down like my little edited one right here. If you're wanting to take this email but change it, alter it in some way, then I recommend you go ahead and open up the preview, copy the whole thing, and then paste it into a new email and make whatever changes you like. Now there is one rule in here, and that is the number of days before must be smaller than however much time is remaining for the due date. By that I mean, let's go back to that 60-day example. If I gave myself 60 days to complete an assignment, but let's say it was 60 days exactly from today, I could not set this for 60 days because the system only sends email reminders once a day, usually around midnight, 1 a.m. So it would assume that this reminder has already been sent. So if I wanted an email to go out as soon as possible, I would set it at 59, which means it's going to go out tomorrow morning. All right, below that, we have the student overdue email alert. Just like it sounds, it's going to send an email to your user letting them know what the due date was and that they've gone past it. Activates the same way by checkmarking the box on the left. In this case, you're going to have days after rather than days before. I like to set it 1 because I figure if someone goes past their due date, they need to be notified right away. Days in between are for follow-up emails and the select drop-down so that they are receiving something. The reason for this is because when a user goes past their due date, they're not automatically locked out of the system or locked out of that course. They actually have a 30-day window to get back in and complete. So kind of the idea here is they receive that email letting them know they've gone past their due date. Hopefully it lights a little fire and they jump in and go ahead and complete that assignment. With the reminders, that will continue until they either complete the assignment or until the 30-day window is used up. And the last one for the students is a student expiration date email. And this is based on the 1 year. So I told you if you don't use a due date, it's automatically going to give them a year. The year is counted as an expiration date rather than a due date because where the due date gives you that 30 days to go back and complete, the expiration date does not. If the student hits the 1 year mark, the very next day, 1 year, 1 day after their assignment, they will no longer have access to that course. This sets up the same way. Check mark the box, set up your days before, exactly the same as the student due date, days in between, and the drop down to receive the email letting them know that they're approaching the expiration date. And this has the same rule as the first one. The number of days before must be smaller than however much time is remaining for the end of the year. All right, so all 3 of these were for students to be reminded of what work they need to get done. The next 3 are for proctors, but they're not to remind you of what you need to get done. They're to remind you who's not getting their own work done. So this first one is the proctor due date email alert. Sets up exactly the same as the student due date email alert with the check mark, days before and in between, and the drop-down email. The nice thing about this one is it's going to send you an email that's fairly basic. It'll tell you the course that's due, it'll tell you the date that it's due, and then it'll give you a list of names. Every person's name on that list is a person who has not yet completed the assignment. The other thing I like about this is the days in between. So as you get your follow-up emails, your list will progressively get smaller because each time someone completes an assignment, they get taken off the list. So hopefully, as you get follow-up emails, you get the list smaller and smaller until it disappears completely. This will continue until either the due date, until the course goes past the due date, or until everyone completes their assignment. Below that, Proctor overdue email alert. I'm sure you guys have probably figured this one out already. You can set this up and it's going to send you an email with the course that was due and when it was due, and then another list of names. The list of names will be everyone who's gone past their due date. Sets up the same as the student overdue. Well, you have to set up your days after and your days in between. Again, the list should get smaller as people complete with your in-between alerts, and the drop-down so an email does go out. This will continue until everybody completes or until the 30 days is up. And finally, Proctor expire date email alert. So again, sets up the same as the student expiration date alert, and again, it is going back to that 1 year mark. So this allows you to get an email that's going to give you a list of names of everyone who's about to expire their course. Sets up the same with days before, needs to be smaller than what remains. 7 days, or I'm sorry, days in between can be set up so that you get follow-up emails and the drop-down so that an email is being sent. Now, if you guys consistently use due dates, then the expire dates will become a moot point, and you can ignore them. Actually, you can ignore this whole thing. Like I said, it's just optional. Once you have everything set the way you like, you just click Save at the bottom, and you are good to go. This is an automated system, so there's not really a lot of reason to come back in, unless you wanted to something or deactivate or activate a particular part of the system. All right, below that is the email my users. And this is just a basic email system that we built in way back at the very beginning, so it works a little bit different than the rest of the system. If you guys have an internal email system, internal IM, something of that nature, we recommend that you guys go ahead and use those instead of our own. Reason being is we've found more and more lately that our emails are being shunted into junk mail or spam folders, or sometimes even blocked completely. We have tried to change it so that security doesn't keep flagging it on some of the servers, but you never know. What I'll do is I'll go through on how to use it. You guys can decide whether or not you like it. So in here, the first thing I always like to point out is on the right here. You'll see there's an active column. The active column, that doesn't usually happen. The active column does include green and red circles. Green circles are for the active accounts. Red circles are for deactivated accounts. So to remove the red, at least I like to remove the red so they don't accidentally get an email that I'm sending to my active users, you can change the status here to active, click the binoculars, and that clears them up. The second thing in here that you want to pay attention to is at the bottom here. It says show 100 users per page. So that means right now I'm showing the first 100 users of my entire organization. I can do a select all from here to send them a message. However, that select all will only allow me to send to my first 100. If you are wanting to send a message to your entire organization, what you want to do is change this 100 to any number that's large enough to accommodate your number of users, which is on the right here, 236 for me. So I'll just say 300, click go, and now you can see it says 1 to 236 of 236. So when I do a select all at this point, I am really selecting all of my users. And again, I just want myself, so we'll go back to another search. There we go. So select myself. This little 2 people icon with the envelope is how you send mail. When you click it open, you can see the subject and the message are the 2 required pieces of information. Up here we do have an email template, which is what I'm going to cover next. So if you have something that you send out regularly, you can set it up so that it just pre-populates when you select it. Once you have everything the way you like, simply click send at the bottom, and away it goes. You'll know it's sent because just like with the assignment center, the window will disappear. And if the window does not disappear after several seconds, probably hasn't sent yet, just hit the send button again. Oh, just so you're aware, that does bring me to another topic. If you click the send button and it doesn't send immediately, but you have a large number of people selected, like several hundred, it can be that the system is just compiling the message. So it's always best to give it a 2 or 3 count, let it see if it closes itself out. If not, then resend. Otherwise, if you keep clicking the send button until the window closes, for each click that you do, the system will resend that message. So 6 clicks, 6 messages, just so you guys are aware. Back on the main screen, the last 2 items here are Course Editor and Course Builder. These are the ones I cover on Wednesday, so I won't be covering them right now. And again, if you do want to jump in there, we do have step-by-step instructions in the Proctor manual for doing those. The last tab here on the Proctor side is the Settings tab. There's another tab you're not really going to use a whole lot because once you have it set up the way you like, you really don't need to come back in here. At the top, we have Organization and Assignment Preferences. This just allows you to do some basic customization. For example, at the top here, we have the user landing page. That means that when your students sign in, this is the tab they're going to go to. By default, it is set to the Home tab, so they would still sign in the same as we just did by going to that Home tab. But you can change this to Current Assignments. What that means is that they would jump straight into the Current Assignments tab where they'll see a list of courses that they're supposed to complete. A lot of places like this so that their users don't get confused or wonder where their assignments are residing so that they go straight to them. However, if you're planning on using optional assignments, I recommend leaving this on Home because optional assignments only reside in the Home tab, and if people are jumping straight to the Current Assignments tab, they may not see any options that they have. Below that, we have the default user password. So back towards the beginning under My Users, I told you that if you use the Send Login Info, it would send them a temporary password that was assigned. This is where it pulls out. So the default user password that we always set up is Change Me, but you guys can make this anything you want. Just be aware that whenever you do send that Login Info button, this is the password they're going to receive. And whenever you add a new user, this will also be what password they are going to be assigned. Below that, we have maximum post-test attempts and maximum post-test attempts and maximum password attempts allowed. Both of these are set to unlimited. Both can be set to a smaller amount. Be aware that these are global settings. By that I mean I had someone that wanted to limit the number of HIPAA tests their people could take, so he came in here, changed this to 3, and it did a great job. Everybody could only take the test 3 times before it would lock them out. Problem is, it is a global setting, so every single course that every single user had in that organization was now limited to 3 attempts regardless of what it was. So again, just be aware. Below that, we have maximum users allowed and contract expiration date. Both of these are static. If you do want to discuss either one, that's when you would contact your sales representative. Below that, we have the organization profile. This is just your organization's information we entered when we first got you into the system, and the Proctor profile, which is your information. You can come into either the organization or Proctor profile and click the edit button and change whatever you like. Within the Proctor profile, there is the additional benefit of password. So you can come in here, put in your current, and then a new and confirm new, and then you can manually change your password. All right, as I said, this is the last tab on the Proctor side. Next, I'm going to go to Switch to User. That's going to change out my tabs and switch us to the student side of things. All right, so now I'm in the Home tab for the student, and the Home tab on the student side actually has quite a lot more going on for it than the Proctor side does. First off is My Statistics here under the calendar. My Statistics, you can see, shows you how many assignments the user has and how many are completed or not, so they can get an idea of what they still need to do. On the right here are optional assignments. So this is what I was referring to back under Manage Assignments. You can make an assignment optional. They'll see that the assignment, what the assignment is, they'll see when it's due, and then if they want to go ahead and take it, they'll just click on the Enroll button. And I was doing this one, I believe. You can see when I click Enroll, it did disappear, and that means it has now been added to my current assignments because I must take it. Above that are assignment quick links. When a user takes a course, they can stop at any point, and when they come back, there's going to be a resume button. That means they'll just pick up where they left off. That resume button is going to be available on the current assignments because that is where their assignment is, but it's also going to add one here under the quick link. So if they're logging into their Home tab, instead of having to go to current assignments, find the assignment, and find the button, they just resume it from here. Just remember that this only saves the last 5 courses they've accessed. So if they're doing more than 5 at a time and they have more than 5 resume buttons, they're not all going to be listed here. Next is user info. This is similar to Proctor profile. It shows them their user information and allows them to set up a new password if they like. And that brings us to current assignments. So current assignments is the most important tab on the user side. This is where their assignments reside. You can see down below. And from here, they can go down and find the assignment they want to take or need to take. I'm taking this one. Click on it. It'll expand to open and give them a start button if there's only a single part, and multiple start buttons if there's multiple parts, like you can see here. Click on the start, brings up the course, and then they go through. And like I said, if they stop at any point, they can go ahead and exit. And that is going to save their progress. So you can see, once I get back down there, this has changed to a resume button. So a couple things you can see here are that the course is still incomplete. When the course is complete, it will get moved to the bottom like this one. So if someone completes a course and goes, oh man, it just disappeared off my screen, I don't know where it went, it's probably at the bottom of my list. Happens a lot. Here you can see under status, it shows the individual portions as incomplete or complete. Here we have percentage completed. So this red bar is going to fill with green as I get through the coursework. You can see it's currently at 12. That just means I've viewed 12% of the slide so far. Underneath it says 90% required. That's telling me I need to view at least 90% of the coursework before I'm even allowed to take the test. This is actually a good general rule of thumb. 90% is required on the vast majority of our courses. Once they do that, then they can start the test, and that's where the test score comes in. Underneath the test score says 80% required. This is telling me that I need to pass with at least an 80. And again, this is another good rule of thumb. Most of our courses do require an 80% passing rate. And sometimes you may see this, 0% required. That simply means there is no test. So for these two parts, it's just coursework, and once they get through the coursework, they're done. Now with the course, I told you if the student stops, they're going to get that resume button and they can pick up where they left off. With the test, that is not true. Once a user starts a test, they must complete the test, because at the end, there's this little button that says grade test. If they don't click that grade test button, the system will assume they didn't answer any of the questions and will mark them as a 0. So they go through, take the test, click the button. The first thing it's going to do is tell them whether or not they passed. It will tell them what their score is, and it will list all the questions they just answered. It will tell them whether or not they got the question correct, and if they did not get it correct, it's going to tell them what the correct answer should have been. This does not necessarily lead to a lot of cheating. I've been asked about it a couple times, so I bring it up. What happens is our system has a large pool of questions. So in this case, I'm using HIPAA. So with HIPAA, we have about 30 question database that the system can pull from. What happens when they go to take the test is it will randomly choose 10 of those questions, put them in a random order, and then present them. If they retake the test after failure, they may get some of the same questions, but it's going to pull another 10 questions and put them in another random order. So this helps them retain the information, and hopefully they don't have to go through and see all the different test questions. All right, so again, once it's complete, then it gets moved to the bottom of the list, like this one. It will stay here for approximately 15 days before it's archived into the past assignments tab. Once it's in the past assignments tab, you can see it is still complete. They do still have access to that certificate. And if they want to go back through the course, they can click the restart button. Now, let's go to the other side of that. Let's say they didn't get their assignment done on time. Initially, what's going to happen is this. All these that say due and are in red are because I've gone past the due date, and it turns red to show me that, hey, this is past due. You really need to get it done. Again, that's about a 30-day window. You can ignore mine as a test account, so it doesn't quite do the same. But they'll give you about a 30-day window where they can come back in and complete that assignment. Now, let's assume that they don't. Let's say it stays incomplete. They go past their 30 days, still incomplete. Then it'll be archived as an incomplete course. And when it's archived as an incomplete course, like this one I have right here, you can see there is no certificate available. They will not be able to get that certificate. And when they expand the course, there are no buttons. They can't restart the course or look at anything. If at this point they do still need to complete that course, then that's when you as a proctor would have to step in, make those assignments, and then it'll reappear under their current assignments. Just to be clear, if you do that, it is going to show up twice. So you would have, if you ran a report, you'll have one assignment showing as incomplete because it's moved to the past assignments, and one assignment showing as current assignments that still need to be done. The very last tab on the student side is the course catalog, similar to course catalog on the proctor side. This one also shows all of our courses that are available in the system. It shows the approximate CEUs and time they take, but it does not have that all-important enter button. On this side, the students do not get to preview the courses. The idea here is they can go through a little bit. If they see something they should be approaching you, then you can go ahead and make a decision from there. The very, very last thing I like to point out here is the user manual link here in the upper right corner. So when you're in as a proctor, it's going to say Proctor Manual, and it gives you all the necessary instructions on how to run the proctor side of things. On this side, it's the user manual, much, much, much shorter, because it essentially tells them what the tabs are for, but mostly points out that the current assignments tab is where they need to go so they can go ahead and complete those assignments. You'll notice the very last tab here is a search proctor, but that's just going to put us back on the proctor side of things and have us start all over. That being said, that is my spiel. I'm going to go ahead and open this up for questions. All right. Does anybody have any questions for me? Very quiet. All right, well, again, if you guys do have questions or need anything, you can go ahead and contact us in client care. That's clientcare@lentmos.com, and then we can go ahead and help you out any way we can. I do run these every Tuesday, so if you want to refresh or if you have other proctors that need training, you can just use the same details that you did with logging in today. It's always on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, and I do appreciate all your guys' time, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.